safe in the troubled and difficult and novel times. So to keep everybody busy and to start off on something new, CEC Delhi has decided to come up with a few series of webinars, and this is the first one on it. Can Pradeep Kumar be muted, please?
I think you can mute everybody together.
Okay, let me begin by just saying a few words about myself and my team. I am Sohail Madan. I work with Bombay Natural History Society, and we run a conservation education center at Asola Bharti Wildlife Sanctuary. Why butterflies? Butterflies are, of course, one of the most beautiful insects around. So it's a good idea to look for them, and it's a fun activity to put. They're also ecologically very important pollinators for lots of our plants, as well as being very important indicators of the health of our surroundings. What that means is if you see butterflies in an area, that usually means that the air and the water and the environment is clean. So it is a good thing to have butterflies in and around you. And butterfly gardening, be it on your terrace, be it on your home gardens, or be it on your colony gardens, is a very, very good idea, because by planting specific plants, we can attract a whole lot of species of butterflies. It will help the population of butterflies as well as their species richness, right? Apart from this, butterfly gardening is also a very peaceful pastime. And once you have these butterflies visiting your gardens, you'll get to see life cycles of these butterflies from the egg to the adult. And this is a very good educational tool, as well as getting kids to record such behavior, and this life cycle inculcates, I believe, inculcates a scientific bent of mind, and will help them in the future as they go around choosing a career.
Startup.
Geeta, can they?
Host, please mute everybody together. You have that authority to do so.
Okay, starting off with butterflies, what we know of life cycle of butterfly is that they go through something what we call a metamorphosis. That means they have 4 stages of life. It is actually an evolutionary trick which makes it much more efficient for these fascinating insects to live their life. It's okay, now I'm unmuted. Yeah, so dividing life stages in such demarcated fashion leads to efficiency in what they do. What I mean by this is that at different stages of their life, be it egg, larva, chrysalis, or adult, they have different purpose, and it's cleanly and clearly divided, and that helps them propagate progeny as they go forward, right? So let me run through this slide really fast. It starts out here with an egg. As you can see, this is sometimes laid singly, like shown. This is a lime butterfly's life cycle. Lime butterflies usually lay single eggs. There are some like immigrants which lay cluster eggs, lots of maybe 200 eggs together. So it depends on the species of butterfly, and there's a lot of variation. This egg is going to come out, a young larva is going to come out of this egg. And the first thing it will do is it eat the eggshells, and then it will, and then it will, there's a lot of noise coming through. And it will, the young larva will turn into, will eat, the whole purpose of the young larva, the caterpillar, is to eat the leaves of a specific host plant on which the egg was laid. So the larva eats and eats and eats till it changes forms 4 or 5 times. These forms are called instars, and the small larva, like you can see here, which resembles a beat of a bird, will turn into a big larva as big as my finger before it starts its pupation, going into making a chrysalis. When it does that, it will find a suitable location, tie a string, and make a chrysalis, as you can see here. This chrysalis will, this is where, this is the third stage of its life, and this is where all the adult butterfly parts are going to be made. And before it comes out, it's going to change color, and this is the empty shell. The adult butterfly is going to come out, and the only purpose, one and the only purpose the butterfly serves in its adult form is to find a mate and lay eggs on a specific host plant. Like I said, for lime usually. There are few others also, but lime butterfly usually does on different varieties of lime plant. You have to understand that the butterfly is never going to grow, the adult butterfly is never going to grow after it comes out of the chrysalis. And the only food source it requires is nectar to go around and look for its mate. Okay. There are a few other things that the adult butterfly is also going to look for, that we're going to go into detail as we proceed forward.
Life cycle बता.
Okay, moving on. The ideal ecosystem for your garden is going to be some place, your terrace, your backyard, your colony garden, where there are no poisons used. What I mean by no poisons used is that there are going to be no pesticides, no insecticides, no chemicals. And this is very, very important, because if we are using any sorts of chemicals, we are not just killing one insect that we want to get rid of, we are killing all of them. So our population in our wild garden or butterfly garden will drastically drop if you use such, it's like murdering our caterpillars. So please make sure that there are no poisons used. Here in this kind of a setup, we are allowing nature to maintain its checks and balances. There's, what it means is, they're going to be biocontrollers. The butterflies are going to be in an open garden, so they're going to be predators also, and any sort of pest you get, that will also be controlled through the natural balance of the ecosystem. The third most important thing that you have to look for is to plant natives. What I mean by that is, we live in Delhi. So Delhi lies on the cross section of Yamuna flood bank and the Aravalis. So what will be native to Delhi is plants of Aravali or the Yamuna flood bank. Okay. Why we have to plant natives is not just because that these are, it's a matter of efficiency. People say that they are going to be hardy, they're going to be take less water, they'll be better adjusted to the weather and climate of Delhi. But the most important thing about this in terms of butterfly gardens planting natives is that butterflies and their host plants, which are these native plants in this case, share a evolutionary relationship that goes way back into time, geological time in some terms, right? So it's very, very important to understand that this ecological relationship cannot be formed very fast. So exotics usually will not have such a relationship with the butterflies around your area. Okay. Mm, Moving on, we have to start changing our gardening practices. What I mean by that is my butterfly garden is never weeded, is never pruned. I don't do unnecessary cutting. I don't do cutting at all. So uh, becoming less of a gardener is better for your butterfly garden. And as you make use of such less intrusive methods of gardening, you will also go through a change of mindset. What I mean by that is when people look at a um, plant with leaves eaten, they usually think that it's some kida or there's some pest, you have to get rid of it. You have to start building a mindset where you imagine the beauty of a plant, leaves of a plant eaten. And that change of mindset is very, very necessary to become a good, ethical and moral butterfly gardener, right? So the practical considerations that you have to keep in mind while starting out your butterfly garden is to try and understand, like we are in Delhi, you know the climate. It's hot in the summer, very hot in the summer, dry, very cold in the winter, dry again, and a few months of rain, monsoon, right? So this is our climate that you have to understand. You have to do this for any place you are in, you're making a butterfly garden in. Then soil is a very important component. Even if even if you don't have a backyard, you're doing it in pots, soil is very important. And it's best to make your own soil. Composting is a very good technique. And looking for organic matter in the soil is the greatest way to keep it healthy. So your soil should not be sandy or brown colored. It should be thick, dark brown color, and that's how you know the vitality of a soil by just looking at it. So if you keep adding mulch to your soil, to your topsoil, and maybe turning it over, it helps in making the soil healthier. It helps in putting organisms in the soil which are going to fertilize the soil on its own. In my butterfly garden, anywhere where I've made it, we don't use any sorts of fertilizers, any sorts of addendum to the soil. It's all done naturally. Okay. The third thing is very important, is light conditions. By light conditions, what I mean is the movement of sun across your site. You have to understand that the sun rises from the east and sets from the west. So you have to orient yourself to those directions, and you have to figure out which part of your balcony or your garden gets the most sun, gets the morning sun, gets the evening sun. So different locations will get different types of sun, and that is what is going to direct your placement of plants. So if you keep a shade loving plant in sunny conditions, it won't do well. So light conditions is something you should start paying attention to right now before building your butterfly setup. So butterfly gardens are very, very easy actually. The three elements that you have to keep in mind is caterpillar host plants, butterfly host plants, and selecting and sourcing these plants. Okay. So what I mean by caterpillar host plants? Caterpillar host plants are simply what host plants are, like for the adult butterfly. So adult butterfly is going to lay its egg, like the lime butterfly we talked about, is going to lay its egg on a lemon plant, and the caterpillar is going to eat the leaves. So caterpillar host plant is going to be a plant which is going to host the caterpillar and provide it leaves to eat. The second category is butterfly host plants, where there is a variety of plants. What I mean by butterfly host plants is nectar plants. Butterflies need nectar. It's high sugar drink, high energy drink, and that's how they fly from one flower to another flower, which is to get nectar, but also looking for a mate. So they need this energy to fly around. So nectar plants play a very important role in adult butterflies' life cycle, in adult butterflies' life. And the other sort of plants that you have to be mindful of are ground cover and wind shelter plants. So if it's very windy in your location or in your terrace, you have to make sure that there are windbreakers, bamboo, and other plants, palm and other plants can be used as windbreakers. And ground cover is also an important thing to look for. Okay. Uh, Structuring a butterfly garden. So when we talk about structuring a butterfly garden, we usually are always thinking about the butterflies or the plants or the flowers. But I want you to start thinking with your home, with your own connection. It has to be a harmonious and exciting place for you to be in. So when you're designing it, when you're putting in the plants, you please make sure that you enjoy being there. It has to be a place where you're going to be observing butterflies for a long time. So it's imperative, it's important that you enjoy being there. So create conditions like that. Put a stool there, put a table, put an umbrella, whatever you like. Put something that accommodates your needs also. Yes. And everything that I will talk about in the design is just illustrative. It's not, you don't have to follow it hard and fast. Okay, so when we start defining our spaces, when we start designing a butterfly garden, we have to define open spaces and planting spaces. What I mean by that is, planting spaces are going to be spaces where your plants are going to come, where your host plants are going to come, spaces that you're not going to enter, uh, be intrusive, disturb the butterflies. And open spaces are those where you are going to enter, you're going to spend time there, you're going to spend time there, standing there, observing the butterflies. So both these places, open spaces and planting spaces, are very, very important. Next, you have to think about the various vertical and horizontal elements in your garden. So horizontal elements can be a lawn, bench, ledge, a lily pond, ground cover, foliage plants. Uh, your vertical elements can be trees, creepers, screens, hanging pots, etc. This gives a three-dimension look to your garden. So it's important to keep these design principles in mind. Next, color. Color is something that is not very important for butterflies as such. It is it's again your perspective. So it gives you that freedom to design uh, the color of the color scheme of your garden. The different patches can be put in, different colors can be put in different patches, as well as uh, the only thing that you have to make sure is you have flowers throughout the season. So you need to have such plants which will flower throughout the season, or in a particular season when there are no flowers. So like in summer, if you don't have any flowers, you put in a cactus. Cactus is going to have flowers. So you have to make sure that your garden has flowers at all seasons, right? So different plants, seasonal plants are going to give you different season plants. Some perennials are going to give you flowers all through. So it's a choice that you have to make. Texture and form is again a very good design principle to keep in mind. What helps you defining these textures is actually naming them, like drooping flowers and the shape of the flowers, or the shape of the mm, the feel of the leaf. All this defines your texture and form. So a mix of form plants, succulents, foliage plants is important to give this type sort of a dimension. The only thing that I would say that is necessary is when you plant your host plants, make sure they are combined with nectar plants and planted in clumps together. It will save the distance that a butterfly has to travel from its host plant to its nectar plant. So it's very important, especially in small spaces, to clump them together. It will give you a better species richness, and it will also make for roosting spots for your butterflies. So butterflies need to rest in the night and need to be away from the predators. So planting in such manner helps in that. Some additional elements that you have to keep in mind, or these are extra design features that you can put in, which will attract butterflies apart from your nectar and host plants. Okay, I'll explain them one by one. Rocks are meant for butterflies to bask on. Butterflies are solar heated organisms. They rest in the night and start their activity in the day once the sunlight hits them. So, to gather more light, some butterflies will sit on sun facing rock surfaces and bask, get heated to start out the day's activity. So, keeping rocks in strategic places where there's a lot of sun will make a difference. Second is mud patch. What I mean by mud patch is a wet mud patch with salts in it. So it can be a natural wet mud patch, or you can have one singular pot and put some salt in it and put some water in it every day. This is a very important component of mostly male butterflies' life. Apart from nectar, they also suck on such wet patches to take important essential nutrients like magnesium, phosphorus, sodium, and they use these elements as nuptial gifts to the female when they are mating, to make the surface of they're different purposes, but mainly to make the eggs better. So it's a very important part of a butterfly's life cycle, because it helps in the mating and nuptial process, and again, very easily done at your homes. The third thing I have mentioned before, shelter. Shelter, by shelter, I mean you don't need to make a house or anything. It's basically a shelter from wind and maybe a hiding place from predators. So you plant in such a manner that it gives these nooks and corners to butterflies to hide in and take shelter in. The fourth thing that you can look out for is strata variation. What strata variation means is having plants at different strata, right? There are some butterflies like the blues which will fly on ground level. There are some butterflies which will fly on mid shrub, and there are some butterflies which will fly on canopy level. So having all these three stratas will give you species richness. If you don't have a small lawn or a small weed patch, you won't get the small blues. And if you don't have tall trees around, you won't get common jades, which are canopy level flowers. Okay. Then the fifth thing that you can use is rotten fruit. Some butterflies just don't take nectar. They also, or they're specially attracted to fermented, smelly, rotten fruit. So keeping them in a basket or a pen holder or just on the ground, like you see this in this picture, will attract a certain type of butterflies. In Delhi is usually the common evening brown, as you can see in this photo. It's probably a guava or an apple. So you can fruit parts that you don't eat can be put into your one corner of your butterfly garden, and that will help attract some other species of butterflies. So this ends the structure and design of a butterfly garden, the things that you have to keep in mind. Now I will just go through a few important host plants for Delhi and the surrounding areas, and a few nectar plants for Delhi that will help you start out as fast as you can. And in the end, I will also give you some resources where you can find out what butterflies are seen in Delhi, what are their host plants, and even from host plants to what butterflies. So resources where you can find much more than I can cover in this slide. So first is common mormon. This is a very common butterfly in Delhi, and at this time you might be seeing them a lot. Why is that? Is because the host plant is Kadi Patta. Kadi Patta is mostly found in everybody's home, grows very easily. There are even trees in Delhi. So common mormon is in fact the most common butterfly that you will see in your gardens when you start out. Okay. I have an open challenge for people living in Delhi that if you see a common mormon on the road, stop and look for a kadi patta tree. It will probably be in a vicinity of 5 meters. Yeah, so you should try out this challenge yourself. Okay, so kadi patta in your garden will give you common mormon. Next is something we call Pilo Vajradanti. It is a beautiful flowering plant. It's also a medicinal plant. Vajradanti is what the toothpaste is, branded on. So it's a medicinal plant. But for our purposes, it is a host plant for pansies. You can see this caterpillar of a lemon pansy, and this is a lemon pansy here. This other pansies also use this as a host plant, but I have only observed lemon pansy in my home garden. So planting, this is a very hardy plant. Does not die easily. Does not require any water. Winter is full of yellow flowers like this. So it's a beautiful plant to have in any garden as such. Third one is this inermi hedge. It's called. It's a very common plant seen in all our ornamental gardens or colony gardens. So anywhere people want to make hedge, they start out with this plant, and you can find it in local nurseries very easily. This is a host plant for a very beautiful small butterfly called common silver line. And as you can see, the caterpillar is here, and this is the open wing, and this is the thing. It's a beautiful butterfly. And if you have a hedge of say 3 to 4 feet above the ground, it will be full of, in its season, it will be full of these silver lines, right? The next beautiful butterfly is the red pirate. To get red parrots to your home, you need to plant this local plant called Patthar Chatta. If you don't find Patthar Chatta, you can also go for Kalincho, which is an ornamental succulent. And the interesting thing about this butterfly is that the caterpillar digs into the thick fleshy leaf and stays inside to be protected and to feed till it becomes a chrysalis, right? This is the empty shell right here, is the empty shell of a butterfly before this is where the butterfly came out from. And you can see it's a striking looking butterfly. And there's some history about it in Delhi. We can discuss it over question answers. Next is Nimbu. We've already talked about it. If you plant different varieties of citrus in your garden, you will get common lime butterfly we talked about. There's also another butterfly called lime blue, which is a small, from the blues family, a small butterfly. That also comes on Nimbu plant. So one of the most essential plants to have in your garden is a Nimbu. Next is zebra blue. And again, there is a host plant called blue flumbago, and there is another one called the white flumbago, which is also chitrak. So the white variety is a local variety, and the blue one is an ornamental variety. So if you can't get the white variety, you get the blue variety, but the white variety will always get more caterpillars or caterpillars faster, in my experience. So where to look for these caterpillars is, you see this flowering plant. This is a close-up of the bud, and this is the caterpillar. So it's well hidden in the bud of the flower. So there's also a trick to finding these caterpillars. Different caterpillars use different camouflage tricks to evade predators. So if you have flumbago, or if you plant flumbago, look into the buds of it. This is where you'll find the zebra blue. I have started noticing zebra blue for the last 3, 4, or 1 week in my own garden. So I am also in the lookout for the caterpillar, which I haven't found till now. This is a passion flower or passion vine, it's called. This hosts a very beautiful butterfly called the tawny coster. Tawny coster is also an indicator, is also used as an indicator in some studies on cow grazing, but that is for a different topic. Now, just know that planting such vines is a passion flower vine is going to attract tawny coster. This is another very good native plant called Kanthari or Capparis ceparia. It attracts orange tip butterflies, pioneers, and even common gulls. This is a cycas plant. Most gardens have it. Cycas plant attracts cupid butterflies, and the caterpillar you see here, this maroon thing, is tended by ants. So look into the center where the new leaves are coming. That's where the eggs are going to be laid. And if there's a presence of ants, then you can definitely find the caterpillars. Again, pygmy date palm and cane palm in your garden will give you a butterfly called the Indian palm bob. And you can see the egg. It's, of course, a very small egg, about 1 mm, but you can see the colors of the egg. And it's a fascinating world of butterfly eggs. If you go microscopic photography, it's really psychedelic colors. And the interesting thing about this caterpillar is that it will cut the leaf of the palm and tie it up like this and hide inside it. So if you have these cut leaves with hollow, you should know that the butterfly is there. This is the most common butterfly that you can find in Delhi. It's called the plain tiger. And to attract these, you can have milkweed plants, Safed Oak, or this is Gigantea, the even Procera variety, the local variety, attracts these butterflies. Then there's a castor butterfly, which again has the host plant called Arandi or castor. So plant castors is very easily grown, perpetuate every year, and no need for replanting. And you will get these castor butterflies. Usually the caterpillar is in the veins, situated on the veins of these flowers to hide. Then we discussed Ashoka. False Ashok, the butterfly that it hosts is a common jay butterfly, and it is very common right now in all the gardens if you go see. So you can also pot it in a planted in a pot, sorry. Let me go over a few native trees that you should look out for, or if you have an opportunity to plant some in your areas, you should. This is a Salvadora persica, my favorite tree, called the Pilu. And there used to be lots of these trees at some point of time in Delhi, but now they have been mercilessly cut. It's a very slow growing tree. So once cut, not planted, you can't see many of them in Delhi now. This is a very good specimen at Qutub Minar that you can go and check. This is a host plant for salmon Arab butterflies, large and small, in Delhi. Then there is Ciris, which is also very common in Delhi, but again, only few specific areas have it. So if you have an opportunity, you should plant it. This is a host for immigrant butterflies and such. Amaltas again is a host for immigrant butterflies. Bel Pattar is a host for common Mormon as well as lime. Bear is an interesting tree. It hosts a very small species of butterflies. It's a Pterocus family, you can say. Pterocus balcanicus, Pterocus nara, spotted pirate. All these piro butterflies are hosted on these. Even small jar bear also is a host plant for them. Then host plant for Capparis, host plant for pioneer and common gulls is this Kareel bush. It's a very beautiful pink. Even achar is made out of this fruit. But it's a beautiful leafless bush. Gets these pink flowers. And right now, if you find a Kareel anywhere near you, it will be swarming with pioneers. It's the season of pioneers. Fast, I'll take some time into going to the nectar plants. Okay, I am not drawing this. So the first nectar plants that you need to have in your butterfly garden is the coat button, which is a small gregarious plant, actually not native. So be careful planting it, but is a favorite for small butterflies and even big butterflies. Another one is Vodelia, which acts as a ground cover. Again, aggressively growing. So make sure that you plant it in a way that doesn't take over other areas. This is also a flowering, it flowers all year round, so it's a good source of nectar. Then there's Desi Genda. Make sure it's Desi and not the horticulture variety. Horticulture variety will not attract butterflies. Periwinkle or Sadabahar is a great nectar plant to have because it will keep regenerating. You'll never need to buy nectar plants. It has seed flowers all year round. And plant one, and it will give you a supply for the rest of your life, right? Then there's a Jamaican spike, which is also a favorite of butterflies. If you find them in a nursery, please go ahead and use them. Then another verbena. It's an annual, it's a perennial flower again, comes in 3 shades, white, purple and pink. It's a good nectar plant to have. Then floss flower again is an invasive, but a good favorite for tigers, blue tigers, plain tigers, striped tigers and such. Then there's a category of plants which male butterflies of a certain family like tigers and crows use to extract pheromones to attract females. So Clodorelia and turnsole is one good example, where they use their brush foot to scratch the stem and take the alkaloids which help them attract females, right? But if you're planting turnsole, make sure that it's away from your pet dog or cat because they are toxic to pet animals or animals. Here are the sources to find the host plants. There are 3 sites given here. The PPT with you guys, you can use these sites. This is where we end. Before we end, I'm going to thank my team, Rajinder, Ishtiaq, Lakhan, and Geeta, for providing pictures for this, and even my father-in-law. So this is where we end. If you want to have answer sessions, question and answers, if you have questions, we can answer them in the next session or whatever time we have remaining. Geeta, do you know how much time we have remaining? It says less than 1 minute.
It's less than 1 minute, so